Oh, hello, hello. Well, I'm here with Dane for our almost weekly podcast regarding martial energetics. Today, we're going to be talking about Tai Chi and injury prevention. How you feeling, Dane?
I'm feeling great and fortunately not experiencing any injuries today.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask. That's one of the things I ask every day in my class. Like, anyone have any injuries? Any injuries I need to know about? uh, Yes, well, injuries are a huge problem with martial arts. I know I've been injured, and I've heard a statistic that says if you practice martial arts, it's inevitable that you'll be injured. Seriously injured. At some point in your martial arts training, you will get hurt fairly bad. So I broke my leg. I haven't broken anything else. I think I really hurt my toe once. Got an X-ray. Didn't have any problems, but I've broken my friend's finger. That's his fault. He blocked with his palm. It's all him. But what kind of injuries have you sustained in your career? So I hear that
Uh,
first.
Fortunately, no serious ones.
None.
Um,
Didn't you ever pull a hamstring or tweak your shoulder maybe, and it takes like a week or two to get better?
certainly minor things here and there, sprains and bruises and whatnot.
Okay.
Um, but the um, the whole topic here is injury prevention. So uh, and
Of
and
course.
and and specifically what Tai Chi has to do with injury prevention. Um, and I wanted to talk about this not so much in the context of in martial arts practice, as in preventing injury in practice or in athletics, but just injury prevention in everyday life, injury prevention
Oh
in
yeah.
general.
Oh yeah. Of course. One of my favorite things from my early martial arts classes was learning to fall. And everyone's going to fall. There's no way you're going to get around that in your life. So, one of the first things they taught us is how to fall forward and protect our face, land on our hands instead of on the ground. It's a lot better to land here than straight there. Yeah, of course. So that was one of the first things I learned, and then obviously the falling back, the slapping the ground, that kind of stuff. So that was a huge part of my injury prevention because I've fallen many times since then. I've never been hurt from a fall since I learned martial arts. So, do you have any experience with the falling aspect of martial arts?
Well, falls are actually a really big part of the injury prevention component of Tai Chi
Mm-hmm.
in terms of avoiding injury in daily life, and this was actually put to me as an actual statistic about linking for people over the age of 60, basically a fall that results in a fracture is a very high indicator of mortality within 2 years. In other words, if you are over the age of 60 and you fracture something in a fall, then statistically there's a very large probability that you're going to die sometime in the next 2 years. Um,
Mm,
so
mm.
so avoiding for people in that situation in that age range, for certainly for people over age 60, just avoiding falling at all um, is is uh, is a huge mortality booster. In other words, if you can just avoid falling, it's gonna go a long way towards ensuring that you live much longer. So that's true. Not just for people in a particular age range, though, because just as a result of the way the human body is designed, we're all vulnerable. Our brain is encased in our head, and it's way up here at the top. And if we fall over, um, we can do some damage. So it's one of the most common uh, causes of accidental deaths for people of all ages, from kids to adults. Um, and so just avoidance of falls, in other words, maintaining balance is one of the biggest statistical sort of factors that Tai Chi as it relates to injury prevention. Of course, this is true of all martial arts, and it's particularly true of Tai Chi in the sense that Tai Chi is, even if you're not highly athletic and young and fit, and maybe you can't exercise really hard, and you're not in that great shape, you can still develop your balance. You don't have to be an athlete to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes,
that's
definitely.
something. That's how Tai Chi in that sense makes balance development something that's accessible for pretty much everybody.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, most of my elderly students, that's what they're seeking. They're like, I really need to get my balance, and that's what Tai Chi is great. That was one of the reasons I pursued it early on. I said, who's the best at balance? And it seemed like the Tai Chi people had a good idea of how to do it. So I learned that as fast as I could. So one of the things that happens during pretty much any fitness regime is straining muscles, going beyond your flexibility range. And Tai Chi, martial arts, the exercises push you to be more flexible, strengthen your tendons, strengthen your muscles. And just by having stronger muscles, more flexibility, you prevent a lot of injuries. So like a slip on a banana peel, the old the old silly one, but you spread your legs too far, you can rip your hamstring pretty easily if you have very low flexibility. So what would you say to that kind of part?
Well, yeah. Balance is certainly a benefit for injury prevention, and flexibility also, and similarly, with Tai Chi, kind of makes that accessible for people in all kinds of physical conditions, even if you're not athletic, if you're not in shape to benefit from like traditional calisthenics types exercise. You can still benefit from Tai Chi and benefit from the improving your balance, improving your range of motion, and also, anecdotally at least, people are less likely to injure themselves doing Tai Chi than doing yoga. A lot of people actually do hurt themselves with yoga, and also with things like boot camp and personal training or physical
CrossFit.
training. Exactly, yeah, those kinds of intense calisthenic things. A lot of people do get those kinds of injuries. The types and the severity of injuries that come out of Tai Chi are much less than that come out of a lot of other physical activities, especially intense ones. And so, my friend who owned a Tai Chi school one time, and I asked him where his students came from, he said a lot of it was yoga fallout. People who had injured themselves doing yoga, and then they wanted something that was less intense but would get them similar benefits to that. So that actually points to another aspect of just injury prevention in general life, which is the principle is joint posture vulnerability, is how I describe it, and that's essentially the being mindful of the position that your joints are in, and keeping them in places where they're protected. Of course, it's at least in principle, it's simple if your joint, like your elbow joint, is all the way straight, it's at its pathological limit or the end of its range of motion. If it goes further beyond that, then it gets injured. And all joints work the same way. They have some limit beyond which they can't go without being injured. So in Tai Chi, one of the awarenesses that you develop is the awareness of keeping your joints in positions where they're safe and where they're protected, and not locking them out, not extending or hyperextending the knees and the elbows and the other joints. Whereas in yoga, a lot of the emphasis is actually on doing just that, on locking the joints out and extending. And it's not that it's bad to ever do that, but as a matter of habit, as a matter of like your baseline practice and the sort of baseline habits that you build up, practicing yoga, you're more likely to develop the baseline habit of extension, whereas practicing Tai Chi, you're more likely to develop the baseline habit of protecting your joints at all times.
Yes.
And that goes, in whatever kind of physical environment or interaction you have. That is, your joints are vulnerable to injury if they're fully open, and they're much more safer and well protected if they're partially closed. Regardless of what.
Yeah, very true. One of the things I have to tell my students over and over and over, especially when they start trying to do punches and kicks, it's like, never lock your joint. If you lock your elbow when you finish that punch and you straighten it completely, it's really bad for your joint, because then when you pop it hard and fast and you go all the way to that edge, you can actually you can break your own arm, basically. You snap your own joints, snap your own tendons. Same thing with the kick. So I always say, it's always like 90% max at that, 90% elongation. So that's a good point.
Right. And with push hands, we're always trying to take advantage of the weaknesses in each other's structure or balance. And so if you just develop that mindfulness of keeping your body in positions where it's safe and well protected, and that bleeds out into everyday life.
Very true. Very true. Okay, so
there's also the effect of like being like a drunk in a car accident and just releasing tension.
Yes.
That's the story is, if you that the drunk survives the car wreck because he's just so loose and relaxed, and whatever degree of truth there is to that. Holding tension in your body makes all your joints more susceptible. It kind of makes you less sensitive. It makes you more jumpy, and like when you run into things by accident, you tend to do it really hard. Or if you fall, you tend to be really tense and instead of fluid and loose. So you take blows a lot more roughly. And you become kind of more just like fragile and brittle in a sense, the more tense you are, and conversely, the more you relax and release tension, the less you tend to get beaten around physically and psychologically by life. So that's also a component of how just practicing Tai Chi and developing the Tai Chi principles makes you less prone to accidentally injure yourself in other ways in ordinary life.
Yeah. One of my 9 lessons during self-defense is be soft and round. Because if you're soft and round, it's a lot easier to take a hit, and it's a lot easier to like feel something touch you and then have a room to collapse and roll around it. Let the force go right by you because of that roundness. Yeah, very important.
So soft and round, absolutely.
Yeah. So as when you teach students, how do you go about explaining like how you practice Tai Chi to prevent injuries? How do you get? I've never found a student in my Tai Chi class get injured other than falling down and they didn't know how to fall properly. That's like the worst thing I've ever seen. But it was a scrape. It was never like a head injury. Could be. Avoided a few of them, but never had that happen yet. How do you go about that?
You mean in terms of developing the skills of avoiding injury?
Yeah. How do you teach avoiding injury?
Well, I guess the principle there is first just soften the body. That's always the first thing. You just get soft. Just get soft. Get in balance, and the principles, structure, equilibrium, fluidity, sensitivity, get soft, get in balance, and then the depending on where somebody is physically, the skills of actually falling will be introduced at a certain point. In other words, being able to just fall down without hurting yourself, fall down and get right back up quickly and easily without hurting yourself, and that gets kind of introduced little by little and built up. And then the overall the overall skills of structure, equilibrium, in other words, maintaining your balance, maintaining your structure in terms of joint posture vulnerability, that really comes out of the partner practices. You can't get that entirely just by practicing on your own, because it involves interacting with the physical world and actually having somebody put their hands on you and issue force and being able to respond to that. So you can get loose and relaxed and balanced all by yourself, standing on your own, right up until somebody comes and pushes on you. And so you really have to have the partner practice, the partner component of the practice, in order to develop that sort of interactive, fluid, dynamic equilibrium type of balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as soon as you introduce the second person who's pushing and pulling on you, you tense up right away. Everyone does. That's the beginning of your lessons. Is okay. You got to learn not to tense up, because that's very, very common, very normal reaction.
And I also say, just to add to that, maybe qualify it a little bit, it's not that you can't develop those qualities in solo practice, but you can't develop those qualities in solo practice if you have not learned to feel them in partner practice. So, like if it's you're brand new at Tai Chi and you just learn the form, the solo practice, there are certain things you can get from that. But you won't be able to get until you do the partner practice and you feel what that's like. And then having done that and having felt that, you'll then be able to get more depth and more awareness out of your solo practice of the form. So it's kind of relative to what your experience is, but to get the initial sense of what it's like to have not just a static equilibrium, but a dynamic, responsive equilibrium that maintains itself in the face of external challenges. That's why you have to have the partner component of Tai Chi in order to fully experience that, in order to really get that, to begin with, at least.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's tough to practice Tai Chi just on your own, but a lot of people do it, and then every time I meet them or see them at a tournament, and they never did push hands, they've never really played with anybody else at the same time, I feel like their Tai Chi is either stiff or it's not evolved enough. I don't know what it is, but when you watch someone who hasn't had that experience, it's definitely different than someone who's tried to experience the full breadth of the martial arts and Tai Chi. Right.
We gain incredible experience and knowledge and ability by rubbing up against each other.
Yeah, that's true. So one of the things that Tai Chi has done for me is injury recovery. So anytime I do get injured, especially doing those fitness classes like you were talking about, just practicing daily, doing my meditation, doing my solo practice, it will speed up the recovery process. So when you go through and you have a student that has an injury, how do you have them practice without aggravating the injury?
That's a great question. Actually, I think that would be a perfect topic for a whole nother show. We talked about Tai Chi and injury prevention. This time we can do another show about Tai Chi and injury recovery, because there's really a lot of dimensions to that. And I think that'd be a great topic to dive into wholeheartedly.
Okay.
We can do our next show on that.
Sure. Why not? All right. Well, then I only have maybe one more question then. What kind of exercises would you recommend to increase flexibility and improve that roundness? So there's the traditional Tai Chi exercise of John Zhuang or staying like a pole. which it forces you to be round, forces you to relax and be soft, find that like posture, pillar kind of structure. What other exercises would you recommend to people?
Well, I think yoga is great actually, as long as you do it along with Tai Chi.
Okay.
Yoga, if it's something that you're capable of, the yoga is really great for developing the aspects of strength and flexibility and balance that it does develop. And it's a great supplementary or complementary practice to Tai Chi. Tai Chi is great for getting you soft and round. It's not so great for like getting you super flexible. That's not what the emphasis on. You certainly could, but you also don't have to. But yoga is about that. So if you want to get noticeable gains like that in terms of flexibility and range of motion, practicing yoga or the type of stretching that's done in yoga is really great for that, and is a really great thing to add in or work in along with your Tai Chi. I mean, I don't think so much in terms of categories of Tai Chi and yoga, and I just think in terms of movement. So when I'm doing my daily exercise, I do some qigong, some slow movement, and some energy and some energy work, and I also do some intense calisthenics, including core strength, appendicular strength, range of motion, and I do like kind of subsist on a balanced diet of all of these things. So the kind of the way that stretching is developed in yoga is really, really great for getting flexible, and that's a great benefit to add in to your Tai Chi, however you fit it in.
Yeah. Well, when I started Tai Chi, my teacher, she came from a wushu background. So the first 10 minutes of class, that's stretching. We do our warm-ups, and then we stretch for at least 5 minutes, sometimes 15. We had bars, and like you would just go to your, how high can you get on the bar? So that was always fun. So a lot of us had splits within like 15, 16 months because we worked hard. A lot of pain. It's all pain. You don't get the splits without pain. But all right. Well, that's the only thing I had. Do you have any other points you want to make? I don't really have any more questions about injury prevention.
I think we've done a good spread on it.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of ideas here, but it mainly comes down to just practice Tai Chi, condition the body so that you move through life more easily, and that's what it's all about. And of course, anybody who's interested in learning the specifics of how to do this is welcome to join our online learning community, wherever you happen to be in the world. And if you're lucky enough to be in San Diego, certainly reach out to us there and find out about our group classes, training, workshops, etc. So that's about all I got. Really fun talking about this. This is actually one of my favorite topics. I love preventing injuries and helping other people prevent injuries as well.
Preventing injury is much better than recovering from injury. That's for sure. I do have one thing I want to add, the exercises. Balance walking, or the chi walking that we do, where you maintain your height and you maintain your balance while walking over distant area and just trying to walk in different directions and seeing how to keep your balance in all those different ways. That's huge for injury prevention because it'll make you stronger. Stretching out further will elongate your tendons and make you more flexible. And then by maintaining your balance, it'll make it harder for you to fall. And the softness of doing the standing meditation and learning how to drop your weight before you fall, that'll help you survive a bad fall. And protect your face if you're falling stairs on the ground. Huge. All right. Well, thanks very much, Dane. I'm glad to talk to you. And next week, Tai Chi and injury recovery.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to it. Have a good one, Andrew.
All right. Talk to you later.